The following broadcast is intended for mature audiences. These are real people sharing very real, deeply personal experiences. This content may be considered triggering for others and for those who are sharing. The chat room is a privilege intended for discussions and sharing. You are not being asked to agree, but you are being asked to stay civil and refrain from personal attacks. Listener discretion is advised. All right, thank you for tuning in. This is Am I Mental, a weekly live podcast where real people share real issues, living lives with real mental health issues. I am your host, E, and with us, at least for the time being, again, is KZ.
Hey, everyone.
And KZ actually does have an announcement to make.
I do. I'm going to be taking a sabbatical, I guess you'd probably call it. I've got quite a few things going on in my life right now that deserve my attention, full and uninterrupted for the most part. So I going to focus on that for the time being. Some of it's some health-related stuff, and a lot of it is job-related. So I'm going to focus on that for a bit, but you have an announcement also, Mr. E.
I do. Mr. E. I actually had a manager when I worked at Apple that called me that. That's awesome. We do. We do have a co-host that's going to be taking your seat here. Of course, you're just doing a sabbatical or a hiatus, and you will be back. But this is going to be a permanent addition to the Am I Mental podcast. The new co-host, Bexy.
Hi, guys.
As you see her in the chat already, she is now part of the show. So,
I'm really happy to be here.
Happy to have you. You've come through in a pinch for me multiple times. I honestly couldn't think of a better person to have come in to help out with the show. So I'm glad that you agreed to come on board.
I'm thrilled that you asked me.
Of course, I did it like a jerk.
Well, of course, it wouldn't be you if you didn't do that, but...
Of course. But yeah, tonight we are going to do a share with KZ. We had a different guest that was supposed to come on, but they got wrapped up in a bunch of... their personal life got really out of control. So they're going to be coming on season 3. It's sad that they have what's happening with them, but they are trying to get themselves in a better place. So, if you're listening, we're here for you. I love you, and we'll get you on season 3. In the meantime, KZ, what are we talking about?
Yes. Oh, well, I don't know. We'll run the gambit here today. So I was going to start with kind of updating a little bit because we talked about some issues with the love life back in when was that, January?
Yeah, no, March is when we started the podcast. So that was back in March.
Yeah, and all the issues were back in January there. So I figured it's been 8 months.
Yeah, 8 months since you tried sabotaging and blowing up your relationship.
Yeah, which I definitely things have been going a lot smoother. They're just cruising right on by, working through things and kind of trying to focus everything towards that instead of trying to shoot myself in the foot.
So, Tinder, is it on your phone still?
No, sir.
Good,
it hasn't. It back in January when that all happened, it was uninstalled and it has not touched my phone since.
Good man. That's one of the biggest things right there.
That's it. It's one of those where it's like, no. Once I started, getting away from it and putting every single bit of effort that I had towards my relationship, the whole desire and everything just kind of went away. Oh, and he disappeared. He had to step away for a moment. Yeah, here he comes. he's back. But
Sorry about that.
yeah, no, no worries. But yeah, no, everything's been going really well. We were, that was March shoot. I think we are actually shooting for like an April date. We're actually looking at getting married, except that the whole COVID thing kind of ruined that.
Yeah.
But that's still on the books. We're moving towards that. I'm gonna see when. Well, depending on all the other craziness that happens in life, when that might roll around for us. But yeah, no, things are going great. With the stuff, the other stuff that's happening, which is possible job change, more than likely a move and everything. It's put quite a bit of stress just on myself, just trying to figure out, the whole logistics of making everything happen, and trying to figure out with the kids, that sort of thing. Unfortunately, stress is one of those things that brings the Crohn's out a little bit more,
which I can only imagine is a self-feeding cycle. When you stress, the Crohn's act up. With the Crohn's act up, you stress.
That's exactly it. And a couple weeks ago, when I missed out on the podcast, I was dealing with some of that and kidney stones on top of it. So it was kind of a double whammy and laid me up there for a bit. But yeah, the Crohn's thing, it's been a pain in the ass, quite literally. But yeah, no, just working on trying to keep myself as stress-free as possible while trying to get myself ready for a transfer of job, hopefully, if everything goes as I'm hoping it will. So it's been fun, and depending on the job move, there's 2 options: out of state, and then one that would keep me in state. If the 2 for out of state, either of those pop up, the whole marriage process will be getting kicked into high gear, because the fiance's family is they would like us to be married if we're going to move out of state. So
I could see that.
Yeah, so we would try to make that happen, because we're planning on going down there and getting married, with her parents around and that sort of thing. If we stay in state, then the current date is in October. So we'll see where that puts us.
And I'm selfish, so I want you to stay in state.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, no, we'll see what happens. The job in state, I wish they would have posted it a couple of months ago, because that is number 2 on the priority list. If that one comes up over another one there in the southern part of Washington, the California job takes the cake. But if the one, if the other job, which is north of Seattle, it's about an hour and a half from the Canadian border, if that one comes up, yeah, I'll be dealing with 75-degree temperatures in the summer instead of 110-degree temperatures.
Yeah, and then the one in state, you'll go from 110 to 115. So
exactly. So, but yeah, so that's kind of my thing right now is I'm going to try to focus on the job stuff there. I for the one that would keep me in state and the one there in the northern part of Washington, I definitely need to kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Basically relearn a couple of things that I haven't really thought about or looked at in years.
Basically just a refresher crash course thing.
Exactly. Just kind of got to refresh it and go from there. But yeah, everything's looking good so far. The nice thing is the Washington job, they make you do a full-on FBI background check and a polygraph. And both of those so far I have passed. So that's a plus.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the polygraph, I'll tell you, that right there was another, that kind of helped push the Crohn's stress thing into high gear too, because I'm sitting there going,
I'm sure that was
Yeah.
nerve-wracking.
oh God, it's horrible. Well, I'll say this: it's horrible thinking about it. But once I was there, sitting down with the guy administering the polygraph, I was like, I'm not here as a criminal. I'm here for a job interview. And he sits there and he talks to you for a good hour and a half, 2 hours. And I went in with it. I'm gonna like, you know what? It's full disclosure. This guy, he's got a polygraph. He's gonna figure out if I'm not telling the truth or whatnot. The guy's like, it's got sensors in the seat. He goes, I can watch your pulse through your thigh if I want to. He goes, if you clench your butt, I will see it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh man, and we sat there and we talked for.
You're like, I'm clinching because of Crohn's, man.
Right. Yeah, I'm sitting there because I was a little sore at the time, and I'm like, I'm sitting in the seat. And I'm like, okay, well at least the seat's got quite a bit of padding on it. But I'm like, man, if I get a twinge of pain, I'm sure that polygraph is going to look funky. And I was like, I'm just, I mentioned it to him, and he's like, don't worry. He goes, it'll be fine. He goes, just relax. Everything's good.
It's probably not like you would be the first person to ever experience a twinge of pain during a test.
Oh yeah, no, and so leading up to it, I was totally stressed, and then you get there, and all this stuff, it kind of gets laid out. And after about the hour and a half, 2 hours of talking with the guy, he goes, okay, now we're going to hook you all up, and he goes, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. Basically, they're all going to be answered no. He goes, a lot of it is criminal stuff. And then these two questions here is, and I think part of the hour and a half of talking to me, some of these questions that came up, he's a detective. So he's watching and reading my reactions.
Right. That first hour and a half of him talking to you is just getting a baseline.
Yeah. And so one of the questions was, have you ever done anything you're ashamed of? And I'm like, where do I start? But we'll start with the most recent thing. And I'm like, yeah, January, everything with my fiance, shooting myself in the foot, and I knew that he could see that I was just like, hate myself for that. And so he took that question. And then the other one that came up was, have you ever done anything sexual that you'd be ashamed to tell your mother about? And it's like, yeah. And he's like, okay, so he takes those two questions and he puts them in with all the other criminal questions. And he goes, okay, so I'm going to ask you, is your name Kyle Zanny? Name drop, whatever. I don't care. But he's like, I'm going to ask you that. That's right. I got you, Mr. E. I'll drop my own name this time instead of yours. I'll see if I can make it the entire time without doing it.
All right.
But it says, all right, is this your name? And obviously you're going to answer yes to that. And he goes, and then I'm going to ask you all these other questions, including these two that we know you've already said yes to, but you're going to tell me no.
Because he wants to have a baseline of you lying.
Exactly. And so we're sitting there, and the first one, I'm in the chair, and I've got, you have to sit perfectly still. You can't move. You can't talk other than responding to his questions. And my fingertips are over the arm of the chair. And as he's asking the questions, I'm death gripping the arm of the chair. And he's like, you need to stop moving. I'm like, I'm trying. He's like, you need to stop talking. I'm like, yeah, I know. So we get through that one. He's like, man, that one is all screwed up. He goes, it's fine. We usually have to do a few of these for each person. He goes, but, let's, so he repositions me, moves my arms back, gets me to relax some. He goes, and the questions he was asking me, he's like, the ones that I wanted you to say, he asked me, the questions, and I'm like, yes, instead of no. And he's like, no, you're supposed to say no to those. And I was just totally like stressed. Once everything came on, it was like all the stress that has been building up for the week prior was like just right there at the forefront. And So I'm like, okay, so relax, calm. Your name, yes, no, 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 no. And he's like, okay, that one was perfect. Awesome. He goes, all right, let's see if we can get one more of these. And then if we can, we'll let you go. So I sit back, relax. And he's going through. And keep in mind, the whole time, you were looking at a blank white wall with a piece of tape in the center that you're kind of supposed to focus around. And so the third time, your name, yes, this, no, this, no, this, no. And I can feel like my fingers, because I'm a fidgety guy. I'm Italian. I talk with my hands. I'm like,
with the joke being, if you ever want to mute an Italian, just grab their hands. Their mouths can't move if their hands can't move.
Right. And so he's asking me, and I can just feel my hands start twitching, and I get a little twitch in my forearm, and I'm like, oh God. And he's asking me questions, and I'm like, yeah, no, 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 no. And we finally get to the end, and he's like, all right, hold on a second. He goes, okay, we're done. He goes, you were starting to drift there on me towards the end. He goes, hold on a second. And he's going through, and he's like, no, I've got enough good data. We're good. We're good. I was like, all right, awesome. So he comes over and hooks me, and he goes, so do you know which one of those questions I had you say no to bothered you the most? And I'm like, I think so. He goes, well, when people come in for the interviews, he goes, I always ask this question just to see if they know how in tune, it's how in tune they are with their own body. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was have you done anything you're ashamed of? And he's like, yeah. And you go, well, you're on the money. So he brings me over and he shows me the charts, and he's like, here's the, have you ever, committed a felony? And it's pretty straight line. Have you ever committed arson? Pretty straight line. And then it's all, have you ever done anything, you'd be ashamed to tell your mom about? And it's, there's a good spike. And it's like, okay, yeah, I said no to that. And yeah, that shows you that you're lying. And then it gets over to the, have you done anything you're ashamed of? And it's just, it dwarfed the other one. And it's like, okay, yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, that was, once I had that done, there was a lot of stress that was like just totally off of me at that point. I was like, oh, thank goodness. And, he was able to tell me that, at the end of that, with those results, he's like, yeah, you've got nothing to worry about with your polygraph. You passed that, so everything's good. And it's like, okay, so now we just got to wait for the background check and go from there. And so that they asked for a couple more bits of information from me a week or two ago. I got that to them, but it could take them like another month to get back in touch with me. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, like I said, I'm just going to do a refresher course on everything else, and that's kind of what I'm going to be focusing on.
Nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
How are the kids handling this?
I
mean, I'm sure they're aware that there's a move coming.
Oh yeah. The kids, honestly, they're doing pretty darn well. I kind of told them, I was like, I will do my damnedest after whatever happens. We're going to try to stick it out at least for the next 6 years. That way it gets my oldest and my youngest all the way through high school before any other changes happen. And, they're okay. My oldest, she kind of takes it a little harder because, she's got all her friends and that. My youngest, she's more of a recluse, to say it nicely. But with the whole distance learning thing that they're doing right now because of the vid, they just started the first day of school today, and it's like, how was your first day of homeschool, kids? And they're like, it was whatever. So as far as school goes right now, it doesn't really bother them too much. They're just kind of, along for the ride. They're just, as long as we don't plan on moving, they're pretty solid.
Good. I will say one thing: if you take the job up in northern Washington, If you don't know if you have SAD or not, you're going to find out. Just
Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of which, yeah, if I go up to visit you, it's going to be during the summertime. Hell no on the wintertime. I need the sun.
Right. Yeah, no, that'll be interesting. You know, my youngest, there's been times where I've questioned whether or not she battles with depression some. Her mom isn't too keen on having them go into a doctor's and do a bunch of talking, even though her mom's been diagnosed, you know, bipolar, manic depressive, all that fun stuff. But for whatever reason, it's like, no, I don't want to. I think it's more of a doesn't want to admit that there may be an issue, but you know,
or maybe not, or maybe afraid that if there is an issue, that you're going to blame her or something too. I mean,
yeah,
genes are genes. You don't have any control over what gets passed and what doesn't.
Exactly.
That's
like,
true.
I'm not pissed at my mom for giving me Crohn's. It's cool.
Speaking of the Crohn's, you have a couple of comments about that. Brandy said, geez, talk about a trifecta of pain. And Ivania said, that's got to stress the shit out of you, bud. Hope it all comes out okay.
And then a bunch of laughter after that.
Yeah. And then Ivania just says, we live in such an amazing world for kids now. There's social media, Skype, Zoom. There's no reason for them to lose touch with anyone. When we were kids, it was paper stamps and the mercy of the U.S. postal system.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. And that's one of the nice things too, is, you know, my oldest, she still is in very good contact with a lot of her friends from Oregon when we moved down here to California. And that's, you know, I had to tell him, I was like, look, you know, you live in a society nowadays where that's exactly it. You have all these different options of communications. You have the entire world in the palm of your hand, literally.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, you know, speaking of that, I'd love to go back and have a little chat with my elementary school teachers when they said I wouldn't have a calculator with me all the time.
Right.
But
I wouldn't like to rub that in a teacher's face.
It's like, I have on my wrist a device that has more computing power than the space shuttle did.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's that's a very nice part. You know, they talk with all their friends up there. She's had herself, you know, her little boyfriend for a while now, that they're still communicating online and that sort of thing. And if we ever go up to, you know, Southern Oregon there, you know, I make it a point to be like, hey, come on, let's, you know, go do something. That way she gets some time with him. Plus, if she's got a boyfriend up there, I don't have to worry about anything. That right there is
That's the dream for the
stress
dad,
relief.
isn't it?
Oh, no. I
God.
think I got the dream for Dad. I live in California with my daughter. Her boyfriend lives in Maryland.
Yeah.
But they've been together now 5-6 years. They've visited each other a few times each now, and they're still together.
And she hasn't come back pregnant.
That's true. That is true.
Yep, that's one of those. I'm like, yep. If you go visit him and you come back pregnant because she's only 14 years old, I will murder both of you.
Yeah. Meanwhile, my ex would sit there and just turn red with a little, you know, shit-eating smirk.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I mean, things are getting less stressful. The Crohn's is not anywhere near as bad as it has been. There's still, you know, some leftover residual stuff that I have to basically just give it time and it'll take care of itself. But yeah, just gonna focus on the job stuff for right now, and I'm sure Bexy will do an amazing job in my place.
Oh, thank you. I hope.
And if she stays on top of the chat better than you did, I'll be happy. No,
Hey,
you guys did a
I
good
do
job.
have to say it's hard to find a place to try to jump in when the comments start coming in and somebody's on a roll talking. So
Yeah, it is.
See, there, my, yep.
No, it is. It is. I know firsthand it is.
Yeah.
But a question for you, KZ. Have you considered getting a therapist just to see what you may or may not have?
So I did have a little chat with a therapist after everything was done back in January. It's definitely something I'm going to look into. The gal that I was talking to for a while there, it initially started out okay. But her beliefs became apparent, and when it came to talking about my father and his disciplinary actions when I was a child, and she told me that it was assault and not just spankings. That right there set me off. I was like, I'm sorry, I can't come see you anymore. That's just no.
Right.
It was spankings. I look back on it now and I'm like, if I had a son and he did the same crap I did, I'd have blistered his ass too.
Look, I don't do spankings, but if you were my son, I would have blistered your ass too.
Oh God, yeah. But just that, I figure I'm gonna kind of. Everything's been pretty solid for right now, like I've said. But once we get kind of more in an established place where I know I'm going to be for a while, because I'd hate to start here,
right?
Get totally, find somebody I'm really happy with, get started, and then be like, crap, now I got to find somebody else.
Right. And I can say that there's a lot of companies out there. I don't know if the states provide this at all. It'd be something to look into, but like every place I've worked in the last 20 years, they all have the option for 6 weeks of mental health for free as part of your benefits. And 6 weeks is a good go check in because it takes about 6 sessions to really understand, what's going on.
I'm sorry. Ivania just said, this is about KZ, not your weird sexual fantasies about KZE.
Okay.
Hey, okay. I see how
she
it
may
is.
have a point. He's tried to kiss me a couple of times.
Jesus. All right, so we're just going to have to call this episode The Closet, and all the skeletons are starting to come falling out of it tonight.
Oh.
Yeah, Brandy
Brandy
just jumped in saying that she got 3 free visits from her job. So yeah, it's not uncommon that, because as we're going forward, we're discovering more and more how important mental health really is. Because like I said, when I worked at Apple, I don't like to tell too much about where I used to work, but it was one of the best parts of Apple is that it was common to hear on the floors of any Apple campus that mental health is still health. And it wasn't just by the employees; it was the management, it was upper management. Even like we started getting to the alphabet letter positions, they were even coming out saying mental health is health. So that was awesome. They wanted you going and getting at least your 6 per year just to make sure that everything's okay. Which again, and I love the fact that is becoming more and more prevalent.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely a huge thing. And like I said, as soon as I know where I'm going to be long term, it is something that, my fiance and I, we've talked about, and, it's one of those where it's like, I definitely need to go focus more on this, find somebody that I can trust and that I, am comfortable with, that, may have a bit more, eye to eye and viewing some things that I do. So, it's definitely something that I am going to go after and just see, like, is there anything there, or am I just a complete douche canoe and, just try to self-sabotage myself?
Both.
Yeah, Ivania says her work has a 24-hour mental health helpline that's free to all associates and unlimited, which I think is awesome.
Absolutely.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, even Apple had like a 24-hour line that you could call too. A lot of people will rag on the large corporations out there, but there's the benefits packages that those large corporations can provide, and the pay and some of the other perks and everything of just working at a large corporation. There's something to be said about it, to be honest. I love mom and pop shops. Don't get me wrong. I would rather go to a mom and pop shop for my stuff before I go to a, multinational corporation. But as far as work goes, I'd love to work for them again. But I have this now, and I love this. I'm my own boss. I love this. This is awesome.
Right.
Totally.
But definitely, if you're going to become your own boss, you have to have a high level of self-accountability. Otherwise, it'll never work. And, I mean, I am just always grilling myself every day about what I need to do today for the podcast. What do I need to do today for the podcast? You know, it's like I don't really share a lot about it. But yeah, every day I'm thinking about this podcast and what's coming up next. You know, the Tuesdays before an episode, reaching out to the person and talking to them. And then sending out the blast, sending out advertisements, stuff like that. There's always something I'm working on.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Like when you kind of got a hold of me on Tuesday there, and it's like, yeah, I've been needing to talk to you, and you're like, hey, you want to meet the guy who's going to be on this week? And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because you were getting ready to drop the bomb on me, and I was like, dude, you're the guest.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I'll go out with a bang here, and just kind of give everybody an update from last time, and say my farewells for now, and I'll be back at some point. So
yeah, I mean, it would be just kind of rude to just vanish on everybody and have me going, yeah, Casey's taking a hiatus, the jerk. This is much better because you actually get to give your story.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And I'm sure you're riding an emotional roller coaster with everything too. 'Cause, I mean, you get the highs of there's these opportunities coming your way. There's the lows of, oh crap, got to pack everything up again. Gonna have to move again. All the stress with that. Have to go and get familiar with a new area, meet new people. Ugh. Hope that you actually fit in with the job, not just with the actual job itself, but the culture.
Yeah, that's one of those where, thankfully, for the most part, being a communications technician, we're all kind of weird. So a lot of the guys are pretty much the same type of people that I've dealt with before. But everybody has their own little quirks. So it's like you got to kind of tiptoe around things until you feel things out. I mean, with most things, I guess that's how it is anyway. But yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. The really interesting part will be so moving out of California. That's another wonderful stressful thing because it has a lot of money involved in it.
Oh yes, it do.
And money is a wonderful stress creator because if you were not aware, I know a lot of people are, but moving out of California gets to be very expensive because there's a lot of people doing it, and there becomes a shortage of moving trucks, which they end up charging you a ton of money for.
Yep.
It is almost $3,000 to rent a moving truck out of California to go to Washington.
Wow.
However, you can save half of that cost by going and picking it up in Reno, driving it into California, then up to Washington.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, if you're going to move to California, those moving companies are practically giving their trucks away just to get them back to California.
Oh yeah, we checked the opposite direction, and it was like $400 or $500 to bring it into California when it was almost $3,000 to take it out.
Yeah. And actually, there was a survey or some data that came out just recently. San Francisco is collapsing. I know this is more news than it is emotional, but this kind of ties into what you're talking about. The number of houses that are now available and open and vacant in San Francisco have more than doubled in the last 2 months. People are fleeing. Wow. And like they compared it to New York, which New York is starting to see the same thing to a certain degree, not as sharp. They compared it to LA, they compared it to Chicago, they compared it to a lot of major metropolitan areas, and none of them are hit as hard as San Francisco. San Francisco is just getting destroyed.
Yeah, I would be interested to look though to see if the cost in the market for rentals or purchasing houses has gone down or if it's been staying steady, because they'll probably stay empty for a long time if it's still as expensive as it has been.
Right. By the way, if there's any listeners in San Francisco, and I would be interested in having you on the show to talk about what it's like being in San Francisco while witnessing all this that's happening to your city. So, mentallivecast@gmail.com. Please reach out to us. We'd love to listen to you and hear what it's like being in that situation. Because, quite frankly, I don't think any of us have ever experienced it before.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, and and it would be kind of curious too, at least in my thinking about it, is even if it's somebody living there that may not have any mental health issues, they may have to deal with a lot of people with mental health issues because of the homeless population being as crazy as it is there.
Oh yeah.
So that's another twist on it there, but
have you driven down Roseville Road?
Oh yeah.
All right, a few minutes ago we got some comments when you were talking about learning the quirks about coworkers and everything. Brandy said that's the worst part about a new job. When you were talking about the cost of moving, Richard said that's a lot of pesos. And Ivania says, why not pods or something? And
pods are at least the last time I looked were crazy expensive because we'd need a couple of them, and I think the last time I checked it was like $1,000 per pod.
Oh wow.
Well, if you need 2 pods, that's $2,000 versus the $3,000 for the truck.
Yeah,
just something to consider.
I've got a fairly large house and a whole bunch of shit, so yeah, we might need more than 2.
Brandy did make an excellent point in the chat too. That now we're starting to see that people who work remotely now, they don't have the expense of living in the big city anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it looks like Ivania has family in the area is going to reach out and make a call. That would be good. If they could talk about, because I'm sure that there's got to be some stress just watching San Francisco turning into basically the early stages of like Baltimore. I mean, have you guys seen that viral video? That lady walking the streets of Baltimore? Ooh, man.
Yep. Oh yeah, it's pretty eye-opening.
It really was. I mean, I just couldn't imagine living in that. I mean, seriously, how could you raise a family in that kind of a situation?
Yeah.
It's stressful enough, being in a suburb that I'm in. I'm not too far away from some pretty dangerous suburbs, too. You know that.
I do. Pretty familiar with the area. Thankfully, when I moved back, I kind of got to pick and choose where I ended up.
Yeah. At least didn't wind up in Oak Park.
Oh, God. Yeah. Or Del Paso Heights.
Which is funny that it's actually starting to get better.
You can polish a turd. It's still a turd.
The new development areas are pushing out the bad areas. That's how it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
the turd just floats downstream.
Well, my mom, she lives there off of 80 and just east of Northgate, Norwood.
Okay.
And there's when you're going westbound there before Norwood, you look off to the right and there's a whole nice brand new development.
Yep.
And then there's a wall between them and the freeway. And it's like nice new development wall and a whole lot of homeless on the other side of the wall.
Yep. Sorry, you're missing the chat. Brandy just dropped an amazing joke.
I love it.
Go for it, Bex.
Brandy just said, you can put your poops in the oven, but that don't make them biscuits.
But they are still brownies.
And not the good kind.
All I hear is Cartman saying, someone's breaking brownies. So you were saying that, so I take it that your woman's family lives here in California.
Yeah, they live just a hair north of Fresno.
Okay.
But that actually brings up another good point that for her is a little. It's stressful for her and a little sad. We've talked about it, and she's it's hard for her, but she knows in the long run, like us moving up to Washington is going to make things better in the long run. But we're looking at moving north. Her family's living down just north of Fresno, except that her parents, both retired, are looking at getting the heck out of California and moving to Texas, the complete opposite direction of where we're going.
Yep.
And so it just went from a plane flight. Like if we end up in the northern part of Washington there, we would be like an hour from Seattle. So like an hour drive to the airport, and then a quick jump from Seattle to Fresno, and then she's there visiting her family. Now it's from there down to Seattle, and then have to make it to whatever, because they're looking like the Waco area, I think. Okay. So basically an airport, as close to Waco as possible, and then a drive into Waco. But it's going to make things, it's going to be a little, stressful for her, I'm sure. And I told her, I was like, look, at least for the time being, if they're still where they are, I'm sure the commute flights from Seattle to Fresno are going to be relatively inexpensive. We'll just get you down there as much as possible so you can see them, and go from there. So it's one of those, some sacrifices on, either side, but, she's definitely still, on board, wants to move up there, knows that, our life is going to be in a good spot, as time moves on, but, it's hard for her right now.
I'm sure. I take it that this is going to be the furthest that she's ever been from her parents.
Yes.
Yeah. Now that I can understand quite well.
That's a big deal. That's hard.
Yeah. Because, where we grew up, and then I packed my bags. I mean, we grew up so close to the Oregon border in Northern California that half the people in Southern California thought we were in Oregon. Like, seriously, right. I was talking to a headhunter down in San Diego, back in 2000. And this is when San Diego was also having a major tech boom along with, Silicon Valley. And the person was like, I was telling him I'm in California. And like, well, when you come to California and meet me, I was like, man, I almost don't want to meet you at this point, I wound up actually getting a job before they got me a job. So I didn't really need them anyway. But yeah, I moved, from way up there all the way down to San Diego. That's like 700 miles. For the people on the East Coast, just how many states is that? That's a lot of states. That's how big California is. California's huge. It's really long.
It is very long.
Yes, it is.
And it's curved like a... Oh, wait. Anyway, so yeah, no, I know the stress of being really far away from the parents for the first time, and I mean it wrecked me. So keep tabs on your woman, even if she's playing strong and playing hard, tough. Just be a little extra careful because it's difficult. Where you've been raised in a broken home and you've moved away from your parents before, and you've been a lot more independent and probably not as attached as I think that she might be. If she's anything like me.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, that's one of those where, we've talked about it. I obviously will be closer to my dad, when we move up that direction. But we've talked about it, and it's like, we just make sure that, we're going to lean more on each other, when we get up there. And just, work it out the best we can. And, like I said, in the long run, in the grand scheme of things, it'll allow us to have a better life than we have now. And that's kind of what we're, trying to put our focus on. And, like I told her, I'll do everything I can to, get you down to see your parents as often as possible. So.
Yeah. And expect a lot of, it's going to be tough, especially if she's close to her parents. It's going to be tough. She is going to hit some hard points where it's just going to hit her. My God, I can't just go take a quick trip to see my parents. Even if she doesn't take trips often. It's the fact that she can now versus it's way more difficult later.
Yeah.
And that was big for me. And welcome Andrew Spalding to the show. First time tuning in. This is E. Yeah, normally we do a lot more talking about much more emotional stuff where we're talking about like an individual story or whatever. KZ's been the co-host since the beginning. He's going on hiatus. I'm just giving a quick rundown. KZ sounds like he's on the phone. KZ doesn't have good equipment like I do. So
brag.
Well, yeah.
I've got my $120 wireless Beats headphones. It's good.
Hey. Yeah, and Vanya, she's got some stories that she could tell too about moving away from family.
Yeah. But yeah, it'll it's another fun adventure. One to tell the grandkids when the day gets here, which hopefully won't be here for a long time.
Andrew's funny, dude. He said that we're really selling him on moving to California right now. Not all of California is bad. If you're like in the rural areas, it's freaking awesome.
There are parts of California that are so beautiful.
Oh yeah.
I know that from just visiting.
San Diego is the only major city worth visiting, in my opinion. And I've visited all the major cities in California. Definitely San Diego's beautiful, worth visiting. San Francisco, if you like architecture, although if you go to New York, you're going to get much better architecture. You go to New York and San Francisco feels young. And then, you have Oakland, which, that's the bad part of San Francisco. Although there's some good parts of Oakland, not even going to lie. Sacramento, it's got its cool parts, like the Old Town. One of the coolest old towns I've ever seen. Also, there's some good old towns around it, like Old Folsom is pretty cool. Old Fair Oaks is awesome. If you like chickens. And even then, it's still just awesome. And beautiful area. Like if you haven't had the chance to go to like Santa Rosa and that whole area, the Sonoma County wine country, God, it's beautiful. When it's not burning, which it is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brandy. Rural areas are amazing. I miss my small town. I miss my small town, too. My small town got taken over by big city people, and the town is just garbage now. I'm sorry, but it is.
I was up there last weekend, actually, and it's turned into a small San Francisco.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went up.
I should have moved out there 3 years ago when you started telling me to.
Well, I mean, if things collapse, it'll get cheap.
Right.
Yes, Brandy, that's exactly what we call them, flatlanders. Yeah,
and you can tell which ones are flatlanders as soon as you get past Redding and get north there, and you start hitting the turns on the freeway. People start hitting the brakes really hard.
Yeah. They don't understand what turns are.
Yeah.
Then also watching them drive in the snow. Just break out the lawn chair, sit out, get yourself a mug of hot chocolate, and watch the fun as they go sliding everywhere.
Nothing's funnier than watching a Texan try to drive in the snow. and I can say this from experience because I was born and raised in Ohio, where people know how to drive on ice and snow, and down here they get like an inch on the road and they freak out. It's hilarious to me.
Oh, you grew up in our town, Mount Shasta, a little itty bitty town, but you go down 1 hour south to Redding. It's the same thing. Those people don't know how to drive in the snow. They live an hour away from it.
Yep. Yeah, people think 4-wheel drive is the win all there, but it definitely doesn't.
No,
4-wheel drive doesn't mean 4-wheel stop.
That's true. It also doesn't mean 4-wheel traction. It just means 4-wheel spin.
That's it too.
Front wheel drive with skinny ass tires. That's the trick. Let the weight of the engine push your front tires down through the snow.
Yep.
Now the chat's just starting to go off about Texas transplants. Yeah, no, again, so for the new people that are listening, this is a little bit of a departure of what we normally do. This is kind of a farewell to KZ. I mean, he will be back. It's just that he's got a lot going on and having a changing of the guards with Bexy here taking over the co-hosting duties. And then when KZ comes back, it's going to be the three of us running this podcast.
Yep.
I guess now would be a good time, to give a little update that R has let me know that they are still pushing forward with their book. They are working with some therapists and getting some good feedback. And so when that becomes available, I hope that we will have her back on. So that way she could go ahead and give us an update about the book and what the plans are. Maybe there'll be a book tour. That'd be cool.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Also, just a reminder for everybody, because she's still helping us out down in the San Diego area, and I'm going to just always be helping her out as well. Rachel Conway, Genuine Psychological Services, Mission Valley and Encinitas. She's a regular on the show. She was on the last episode of Season 1, and she came on pretty early in Season 2, and she'll be back in Season 3. If you're looking for a therapist down in that area, by all means, check her out. This is literally the only advertising I ever plan on doing on the shows for people that I know personally. Oh, okay. Wow. So I take it Andrew might actually know me somehow? I'm getting the E sounds better in person than I thought he would. Bexy!
I just told him not to compliment you.
Yeah, Macy's already called me before about using my ego in their holiday parade, so. But yeah, Casey, we're definitely going to miss you on the show. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one that's going to miss you.
You will definitely be missed.
Well, I will definitely be listening, so. And I might try to make a stop into the chat room every so often.
Definitely. And I mean, if you ever find yourself itching to get on the air again with us, you're part of this. This is
I appreciate it.
You helped get this off the ground. This is part you're working too. It's like I may have been doing the heavy lifting, but I needed help, and you came in and you helped, and I thank you for that.
Definitely.
Oh, Brandy says we'll miss you, and Ivania says she's sad.
Yeah, I'll miss KZ too, but my aim's getting better.
No, I'll miss you guys too, and I'll be back. It'll just it'll be a little bit. I got to get things situated here, figure out which direction life's going to tug me, and go from there.
Yeah, and I know for me, if I had to take a hiatus, the part that I would miss the most. I mean, I love listening to the guests, and I love our banter, but honestly, it's that chat room. That I would miss the most.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you guys truly... I know I say it all the time, but you guys truly make this whole thing special. You make this worth doing. You make it worth all the stress that we go through for this. It's seriously, you guys are the best.
Kat says, good luck, KZ.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you can always come in as a guest, between now and then, because I mean, it sounds timeline wise that you may not be coming back until season 4. You may miss all of season 3.
Yeah, depending on how quickly things move in that, we'll see. It's crazy because Washington, it took a little while for them to get things rolling, and then all of a sudden it was. You fill out your paperwork for a background check, come do the polygraph, and then, okay, we got these things done. Now we need, transcripts. And I'm like, okay, well, this is like bam, bam, bam. When am I going to get a phone call? And so, yeah, depending on time frame, it could be soon. It could be another month or so from now before when I hear back from them. So,
right. And in that time you get to study up. And if you wind up staying in California, you're moving into, you think you're in fire country now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure that you'll have a lot of work to do there, too. Fire goes ripping through, bakes an antenna, fire threats cleared, guess where you're going?
Oh yeah. No, I was shooting at and drove through. I was telling you earlier, I drove through a fire area today, and yeah, it's definitely interesting when you're cruising down the road and nobody on there, and you go from normal road to pink to normal road to pink because of the the drops that they've done.
Yes. For people that do not know, that don't live in wildfire country, they used to use a fire retardant called Boré. They don't use that anymore, but they use another fire retardant that is just as pink as Boré. They add it to the water, and when they go fly overhead, it allows it to keep... It's a fire retardant, so that way even the water may evaporate, the retardant stays behind, so the fire has a harder time burning. It stains everything. My dad had a pickup that used to be a CDF truck that got hit twice. 25 years later, the truck was still pink. And you can't wash it off. You can't.
No.
You have to strip it down and reprime it and repaint it. But yeah, if you guys get the chance, right now, as a matter of fact, if you guys go on Reddit and do the subreddit Low Flying Planes, they're featuring a lot of these drops right now. And it was crazy that you see the spotter plane go by. It's usually like a lightning style, World War II style lightning plane, shoots out a trail of smoke because they could see a lot easier to the ground than the pilots can, because the pilots are in DC-10s, AC-130s, 737s, and 747s. They follow the smoke trail and drop on the smoke.
Yep.
And, I mean, these guys are maybe clearing treetops by 15, 20 feet. They're that close to the ground. It is crazy. These pilots are amazing.
Yeah, the guys that fly those things are pretty awesome. That's part of my current job, is I have done quite a bit of radio work for the radios that are in those planes.
Nice. And of course, if you want the ballsiest job on the planet, and I mean, everyone's always talking about, like the Alaska king crab fishing and working oil rigs, all that. For me, it's the smoke jumpers.
Yeah.
You remember our PE teacher in junior high, right?
Oh yeah.
He was a smoke jumper.
Oh, was he?
Yes, he was. If you ever notice, all of his shirts, all of his polos had a little parachute on them because he was a smoke jumper.
Huh. I was not that observant back then. I couldn't stand the guy.
Yeah, nobody could really stand the guy. When I learned that he was a smoke jumper, I actually brought it up in the middle of health class, and our class actually wound up respecting him after that. Because, I mean, he was this annoying, high-pitched voice, Pee Wee Herman-looking dude. And, I mean, you wouldn't think that there's anything about this guy that stands out. Dude jumped into wildfires with a piss pump and some food and a fire blanket. That's all he had. And fought his way out from the middle of a forest fire. That takes some balls.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, yeah.
So Kat's asking for the quick update. Long and short of it, KZ is taking a hiatus. Bexy is the new co-host. KZ will come back, and we'll have a 3-person team going forward. Hey, Twitch! We got 2 people from my guild here for Shop Titans.
Well,
yeah, fun game, by the way. KZ, did you ever start playing that?
I have not yet. That's I need to download that. Maybe I can do some of that on some free time.
It's an idle game. I'll tell you right now that the first couple of days you're busy on it, and then you just hit the wall where everything slows way down.
Oh, gotcha.
Alrighty, so anybody have any questions for KZ? There is a delay between what we say and what they hear.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. No, it's okay. I know I'm not too interesting, so I'm not expecting too much.
Yeah, who are you again?
Right.
Oh, God. Okay, so, as some of you know, I got remarried, and I wound up having more kids, 2 more kids after I got remarried. Now, what's funny is that my youngest from the previous marriage, I had 2 kids at that point, the boy and the girl. And the joke that I had was like the moment that my other daughter was born, my then youngest, that now all of a sudden became the middle child, you know, she's sitting there holding the baby. She's like, "This is great." And I looked over, I'm like, "Who are you?" You know, the invisible middle child.
Oh man.
Yeah, my little one wasn't even an hour old and already delegated the middle child to, "Who are you?" No, actually, Kat's right about the game. It's not idle. I mean, it can be idle, like if you're crafting the things that take over an hour to craft. You know, that's kind of idle. You have to wait for your resources to rebuild. But it's one of those well-balanced games where you could be as busy as you want or as hands-off as you want, and you're still doing well. It's pretty awesome.
Nice.
And Brandy's wishing you the best of luck on whichever path you end up on.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's not that common where you get 2, possibly 3 paths. Each one is an upgrade from where you're at. You know, that's kind of rare.
Yeah, you know, I was talking with my old boss, the guy there in Southern Oregon. You know, he, you know, helped get my foot in the communications door, you know, along with my dad and that. And it was one of those where, talking with him, he's like, "I knew when you left my shop to move on to the, you know, the current job," he goes, "I knew that the doors would be opening for you." He goes, "It was just a matter of time before, you know, something big came your way." And he goes, "It looks like it's happening."
And now it's a matter of which big thing you want to take. I mean, you got to also figure, I mean, this jump here, if you move to a different state, I mean, it's, as you know, it's not easy to jump between state jobs. No. It's a lot easier to stay in state. So now it's like, you know, if you get the offer where you have California and Washington, you really got to think that through. You know, do you want to wind up having Washington as your home, where it's easier to move around inside of Washington or California? You know, which one's going to be the one that you prefer the most?
Well, I'm gonna be a little petty about this, just so you know. Washington, there's this cool thing that all I got to do is pay $300, and I can get this cool thing called a tax stamp, and then I can suppress all of my weapons.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And I'm like, you know, that would be kind of nice. But and that's the other fun thing too, is like, you know, I had to tell my fiance that too, is like, look, your parents moved to Texas. We will go visit because I know your father. He's going to have a lot of cool toys when he gets down there.
Oh.
So I'm like, yep, we'll make it a point to go visit family. That's for sure.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't think there's going to be a lot of questions. I mean, probably a lot of well-wishing for you.
Yeah.
I mean,
I appreciate
you're in a good spot. You're in a much better spot today than you were on the first episode that we did. Because that first episode, you were still kind of dealing with the fallout of possibly sabotaging your relationship. And then right after things started getting back together on that, then the whole COVID thing came in and wrecked your wedding. So definitely nice to see you riding a high right now.
Oh yeah, no, and I will say, you know, just going back to that, there are times where, like, I'll sit there and, you know, she's off to work, you know, 3 days a week. You know, I get to see her, you know, basically Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then she's off to work early Tuesday morning. And there's times where, you know, all I have, you know, the kids go to sleep, house is quiet, and I sit there and I think to myself, and I'm like, you know, what happens if one day she's just going to wake up and be like, that crap that happened in January was bullshit. I don't need to be here, and takes off. And I start thinking about that in my head. And the nice thing is, though, is after everything, you know, we've sat there and we've talked about it, and she's, you know, does the whole reassurance thing. You don't have to worry about that. I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. And that, I think that, again, in the back of my head is that whole self-sabotage thing, you know, chewing away at me. And it's like, no, it's not going to happen. She is still here. We are still planning, you know, a life together. This is, you know, where we're going to be.
You're dealing it with it in a very healthy way. Because if you didn't, if you dwelled on it, and it would become a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm trying to, keep everything in focus and, talk to her when stuff comes up and, go from there with it.
That's awesome. That whole, communication thing. I mean, anyone that's been in a long-term relationship will tell you the same thing. It's key.
Yeah.
Relationships live or die off of communication. Also, relationships live or die off of cooperative effort.
Yeah.
It's a joke, but it's a truth too. Is that the person that has the power in the relationship is the person that cares the least.
Yeah.
It's a sad truth. So it's a good thing that it sounds like you're both fully invested, both fully working on it, and you both care.
Yep. Nope. That's it. Exactly. We're focusing on making it work and making things good and, keeping the family happy and, go on from there. So.
And you know that I'll always tell it to you straight. This is the first time I haven't even met your significant other, that your lady this time, which I want to before you move, but
you will definitely.
Out of your past two, marriages / long-term relationships with this is the first one that I personally feel really good for you going into. With the other two, I was like, I had serious reservations. And I voiced them, but you weren't listening, and so I did what I'm supposed to do. It's like, okay, I said my piece. You're going forward. Yep. I will support you. This time, I have nothing to say other than congratulations. You're such a better place than I've ever seen in my life, and I'm so happy for you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, brother. And yeah, no, I'm feeling good. And I told her, I was like, before we move, we have to get together with you, whether you guys come over for a barbecue or something, we'll, not listen to the whole, social distancing aspect of things. We'll, break some rules a little bit and have you guys come over and,
or you come over here and we all just sit outside. We have a really big backyard. We have a pond with a waterfall, barbecuer. Plus, nice. Got my boy living with me right now.
No, true. Got to come over and see him
and he just got a new car.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't seen him in years. So yeah, I've got to make it over that direction.
Ooh, wow. Hey Bex, you got some stuff to share.
Yes, I do. I've been waiting for a break.
Go.
Okay, Ivania said that being in your head is the worst place to be. I agree with that. It can be awful.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Kat said COVID-19 wrecked pretty much everything. Yeah, it screwed up a lot for everybody.
Oh yeah.
Also, that good communication is so important, and Twitch says that's so true. He's only been home 4 out of the last 24 months. Communication, trust, and teamwork is the key to maintaining a healthy relationship. And
wow.
Kat just says, wow, T.
Yeah. I mean, I know what T does or what Twitch does for a living. So yeah, I can understand that he's going to be gone for quite a bit. I didn't realize he's gone that much. Jeez.
That
Respect.
has to be hard.
Man, and you hear stories about like the Alaskan crab fishing or even the fishing over in Maine. I mean, those are long times gone, but this, wow.
Kat says we're all coming over, E. And
hey,
Maya says, in all seriousness, I'm so very happy for you, KZ. I know you have been struggling to make this decision for a while, and I think you've made the right choice. I heard a lot about you over the years, and I'm glad to have gotten to meet you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident about the choice. Time will tell for sure, but I'm feeling good.
Yeah, I think that you're making the right choice. Like seriously, not only just with who you're marrying. I mean, seriously, she's awesome. But also, you're moving up to Washington. If that's where you wind up going, I mean, I'm happy for you. I'm a little hurt because you're going to leave, but that's me. That's just me being selfish. Ignore that. If that move to Washington sounds like it would be the best move for you. And like I said, I'll come up during the summertime. And if I'm still just doing, podcasting and stuff for a living, who's to say I don't just stop up there for a while and camp out with you for a little bit and bring the kids along?
Well, if things go the way I'm hoping they're going, we will have a spare guest room. So, you're always welcome.
Awesome. Yeah, and you always have a place here.
I know. Even if you didn't say it was okay, I'd still crash on your couch.
Richard says, and if you ever miss the state, California would definitely want your money inflow back.
Oh, God, I'm sure they would.
Did you hear about the tax that California is proposing for the wealthy? Retroactive 8 years for people that have left the state.
Yeah, have fun with that.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, California is in really bad shape. It has been for a long time. And I'll see a lot of people that will go, oh, strong, like fourth strongest economy in the world. It's like that's great. But if your tax spending is outdoing what your economy can provide, you're in bad shape. Period. Doesn't matter if your economy is the best in the world or literally the worst in the world. If you're outspending your tax income, you're in bad shape.
Yep.
And I think that can be agreed upon by anybody of any school of economics, of any political affiliation, because I don't want to do politics on here. I do enough politics on social media and other places. I don't want this becoming that. All right, so, KZ, I love you, brother.
I love you guys, too. I appreciate everything, and I will be back.
If I let you.
Yeah. I was going to say, I won't try to do it in my best Arnold voice, so.
Yay! I got someone to spit water on their cell!
Oh, great.
Oh, Bexy's quite familiar with that.
Oh, am I ever?
Hey, I see something from E. Maybe I should read it while taking a drink. Yeah, if you guys know...
What's sad is we'll be in a completely normal conversation, and then you throw one wild thing out there, and it gets me every time.
Yep.
I never see it coming.
Yeah, if I was a pitcher, I'd be a strikeout artist, because it looks like a fastball. Nope, it's a screwball. All right, so just going to go ahead and wrap up with a little outro business here. KZ, again, it's been great having you on. I can't wait to get you back. Bexy, welcome to the family. Glad that you are on. I'm glad that you accepted my invite in. And yes, everybody, I did screw with her before getting her on. Yeah, instead of going directly to her, I went into a group chat that she's in, and I said, well, it looks like KZ is leaving the show, and I'm going to have to find myself a different co-host. And that's all I said. And so Bexy was like, hi. I'm like, hello, do you know anyone that might be interested?
Oh, I do believe that my exact response to you was...
As you're pulling it up.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up.
Hi, Mysterious Squirrel.
Like, do I? Me? And you're like, if you'll do it. And I'm like, fuck off with that if.
Yeah, I knew that you'd do it. I mean, you two are my ride or dies. I know that you guys are for me. I am for you.
Definitely.
There's no question. And welcome, Mysterious Squirrel. Sorry, we start at 7 o'clock Pacific time. We've been running for an hour and almost 15 minutes now. You always catch up on the past episodes. Can catch up on this one. Yeah, and I mean, welcome. Definitely, the more the merrier in this chat. And there's been a few new people in here, so awesome to see. So yeah. Bexy, go ahead and say bye. KZ, say bye, and then I'm going to finish off with the last minute business.
All right, bye guys. It's been great.
If you like what you hear and you want to help support the show, hit like on this episode and give us a follow. Also follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/mentallivecast, all one word. This way you can stay up to date with what is happening between episodes. Also, share this episode and your favorite episodes with others that you think might enjoy the show or might benefit from listening to it. And if you want to help the show grow, go to our Spreaker page at www.spreaker.com/show/mentallivecast. Again, all one word. Go to the description area and expand it, and at the bottom you will see different ways that you can go ahead and donate to the show. We have plans on expanding the show beyond just being a podcast, and we need your help getting there.